As we saw in the last video, the SwissTool Spirit is a fantastic multi-tool with some really good screwdrivers. However, sometimes you need to get into a piece that requires a specialist expert to do a certain job, like for this piece of IKEA furniture. And as it stands, with this on its own, you can't turn this. But today I'm going to show you how you can take commonly available adapters and adapt them for use with the SwissTool Spirit. Hi, I'm Dom and welcome back to the Clown's Pocket. Now, it's quite common for multi-tool manufacturers to supply aftermarket add-ons that allow their customers to interface with standard 1/4 inch and 4mm hex bits. For example, you have the Leatherman Wave Plus, which has the proprietary bits and a holder, which will interface with this ratchet, which in itself allows you to get into standard 1/4 inch hex bits. Other manufacturers like Roxon sell adapters and whole kits that will allow you to interface with commonly available 4mm hex bits. But today what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to take some commonly available generic or brand specific adapters and use them to interface directly with the SwissTool Spirit. Perfecting that coupling might take a bit of modification, but it's all right, I'll walk you through it. Now, I know that you can buy the Victorinox ratchet with bit holder and the non-ratchet hex drive wrench as part of the Spirit X Plus and other kits, but I don't actually have either of those available to me, and I haven't actually been able to confirm that they interface directly with any of the tools on here, even with a friction fit. So I did what I usually do and went off in a different direction altogether and did my own research and tinkering. I have done this before, and for my own beloved handyman I've managed to get, using the cap lifter and inline hex adapter and also the Leatherman rebar adapter, which I could have managed to get to fit onto the dolphin driver, what is known as the dolphin driver on the back scales of some 91mm Victorinox Swiss Army knives, such as the Handyman and the Swiss Champ. I've got a separate video showing how to do this. I'll put it up in the corner, but it will also be in the pinned comment, so you can come back to that later on. The first thing that I wanted to do was to see if we could replicate this, because the cap lifter is exceptionally strong. It's even used as a pry bar. I wanted to see if we could replicate that on the Spirit. Here we go. The slight problem is, though, is that these are of different sizes, only slightly. So let's take the standard socket set, and this is the 1/4 inch socket set, and this is the one that I've managed to adapt to go onto the Handyman. This will not fit onto the Spirit because this is too big or this is too small, whichever way you want to look at it. So that's the 1/4 inch. Now here we have a socket which is a 3/8 socket. Let's see if that goes on properly. No, it doesn't. It's too big. So there's no point even trying this one, which is the 1/2 inch. Right, in which case we can't use the cap lifter as an anchor point. So here what we need to do is check all the available implements and see which of them can be used as an anchor point. First of all, as an anchor point, it's important to use an implement which is not going to get damaged by having an adapter on it. So for example, the 1/4 inch adapter, I know for a fact that that will fit on really nicely here onto the file. But files are designed to go in this direction, but they're not supposed to be used for twisting. And with all of these lines cut in them, I think that would render them brittle in a circular motion. So you have to respect the implements which you're using as an anchor point. So the file, that's a no. The blade, we don't want to damage any blade, so the blade goes as well. Likewise, the chisel. We've already discounted the cap lifter. The reamer, we don't want to blunt it. The saw, we don't want to blunt that either. The Phillips 1/2 driver, yes, that stays because it's a driver, so it's used to circular motions, as is this one, which is a smaller driver, the 2mm driver. Scissors, we definitely don't want to be damaging the scissors. This is a push opener, it has a blade, it's very thin. We don't want to be using that either. So we only have really two candidates here for using as an anchor point. Let's start with a 2mm flat screwdriver and see which adapters could potentially fit on here. All right, first of all, we have the Ganzo 5x5mm square adapter. These are available on AliExpress, and there are a lot of multi-tools where this will actually fit them quite well. And I have also in the past managed to adapt them so that they will fit a Leatherman Squirt P4. And also I've managed to adapt them so that they will fit on 58mm Swiss Army knives. Let's try that on here, on this 2mm driver. We can see that that's not going to fit at all. So we can discard that for the time being. Fear not though, we have the Roxon 4mm adapters. So this is a square adapter, and it's the one that usually comes with the Roxon M3 and the Roxon M2. So let's see if that will fit on here. That slides in there diagonally, and yeah, it will work. There's quite a bit of wiggle in there, but we can fix that. Fear not, I'll show you how. Now, even though the Roxon adapter is less wiggly on the Victorinox 2mm screwdriver than it is on Roxon's own tools, we're going to eliminate that wiggle on here by using a glue stick from a classic arts and crafts glue gun. Once you have the screwdriver inside the adapter, take a Sharpie or something like that and just mark on the sides exactly where the entry points should be. So, like so. Because once this gets full of the silicone glue, it's going to be difficult to find the corners to see where to put this in. So once the glue in your glue gun is good and hot, you need to get it into this adapter quickly, and it will start to glob up at the top. So you need to take a match, batten it down, put more in, get it good and full, and then quickly get the 2mm screwdriver in, line it up, grip it tight here, and then pull it out before it's had time to fully harden. So you have to be quick and nimble here. But if you mess it up, you can just remove the glue by using a nail or something like that and start again. So you've got as many chances to do this as you need, but it is best to get it done very quickly. So let's start pumping the glue in here. See, I told you it would glob up. And it is hot, so you need to be careful of that. So you can feel the adapter start to warm up. If it starts to get too hot, grip it with some pliers or something. Right, and now following these lines, get this in quickly, push it all the way down to the bottom, and then remove it. You will need some pliers for this because that is hot. There we go, just push it off there with the thumb. And that's what you're left with. I know it looks like a big sticky mess right now, but we're going to sort that out in a second. So after a couple of minutes, this will now have cooled down altogether, and you will still be able to see the lines that you made here with your Sharpie. So line that up with the 2mm screwdriver and push it in all the way down to the bottom, and then push it off. So now you can see you've got a slot here where this driver will sit inside. There's no more wiggle, and you have a solid driver here. Now what we need to do is remove off all of this excess glue that got stuck here, and that's quite straightforward. We just use a knife to do that. We can start snipping this off with some scissors, and there we have our adapter. So at this point we just want to tidy that up a bit by using a piece of sandpaper. I like using these sanding sponges. You don't want to go too mad, you just rub it gently because you don't want to heat the glue up again and get it melting. So you just tidy that up and then snip off little bits here. I find that the 58mm sacks are good for this.
You do whatever you need to do just to get this looking halfway decent.
Once you've got it looking like this, then you're ready to go. You now have a 4mm adapter which will fit onto the end of your 3mm screwdriver on the Spirit. that goes in there. And then from that point on, you can use bits from the bit kit or standard 4mm bits that you have lying around the house. And from here, I found these 4mm to 1/4 inch adapters on Amazon.com. I'll leave a link for these. That's very good. So that slots in there, acts as an extension, and it gets you into standard 1/4 inch hex bits. So any bits that you have, specialist bits or standard bits or whatever, you can now turn with this. And then from there on, obviously, if you have one, you can use something like this Leatherman ratchet or the one from 711L. And there, look, you've got a hugely long bit driver that you can use in conjunction with your SwissTool Spirit. Now, obviously, this is not exceptionally thick, so I wouldn't want to over test it with too much torque. But for 99 cases out of 100, this is absolutely fine. So you've got the access now for 4mm and 1/4 inch bits directly from your 3mm screwdriver on the SwissTool Spirit. This will grip very well for a long time, but after a while you may have to redo this, but that's not an issue. You just heat the glue up in here, maybe sticking in a paper clip and warming it up with a lighter, get it all soft again, and then in you go again and remodel it. All right, so that's the Roxon Bit Kit Adapter, which will fit onto the SwissTool Spirit's 3mm screwdriver and is currently available on Amazon as of the 30th of July 2026 at $7.99. And I'll put a link in the description and in the pinned comment. Now though, let's take a look at the adapters that we can use directly with the Phillips 1/2 screwdriver on the Spirit. So if we look at this, we can see that this is not quite symmetrical. On one axis, these two sides actually widen out more. That's what helps it actually get into contact with things like PH3 and PZ3 screws. So we need to bear that in mind. The Leatherman adapter, which is available on Bit Kit number 3, and today as of the 30th of July, on the Leatherman website, on the Leatherman US website, you can pick this up for $25 US. I'll see if there's an Amazon link as well. Now, this adapter, it's quite well known that this will fit on here with just a friction fit. And then from there, obviously, you can use Leatherman's other adapter here, the ratchet set, and you can get a nice ratchet going. There's a bit of wiggle on there, but nothing too bad. And as I said before, there's less wiggle in one direction than there is in the other because of the shape of the head. Now, could we fill this with glue? Yeah, we could, but I'm not going to. I think that because this aperture is a square and this can, in effect, it depends on which side it goes in, I think it's not worth it. So here with a friction fit, this will actually work very well. Just to highlight something here, again, this gives you full access to a full range of 1/4 inch hex bits, and it's a nice sturdy adapter, so it's more suitable for larger torque than maybe it was using the Roxon on the 3mm driver. In order to get into 4mm hex bits, we have another adapter on Amazon.com. I'll leave a link for these. This will actually get you from 1/4 inch to 4mm, so we just slot that into there. And there, from then on, we have access to the full range of 4mm bits, or whatever 4mm bits you've got lying around in the house. With all of my own kits, I tend not to carry a separate extender, because what I find is that using a 1/4 inch to 4mm bit and then a 4mm to 1/4 inch bit, that gives me a nice extender just all on its own. Next up, I'm going to show you a good option which is a bit cheaper than this from AliExpress. The Leatherman adapter is 5x5, but it tapers down towards the end, which is what gives us that nice friction fit. Following on from that, we have the 5x5 Ganzo adapter, which I can get from AliExpress, but that is 5x5 as well at the top, but it does not taper downwards. So when I insert the Phillips driver in there is quite a bit of wiggle and no real friction fit, but there is a magnet in there which helps keep it in place. So that will actually work on its own without any glue or anything like that. However, there is another option which is better, and that is another cheap Ganzo adapter from AliExpress, which again I'll show you how to find, and that is 5 by 4 millimeters. So it's a rectangular adapter. Now remember how I said that the geometry of the screwdriver is not the same all the way around? This will prove it to you. So if I try and insert that in here, it will not fit, right? It's blocked. But if I rotate it 90 degrees and try and insert it like that, there it fits in, and there is a bit less wiggle than there is with the 5 by 5 square adapter. So with this is very useful. You can use this directly without modifying it, but again, what I'm going to try and do here is reduce that wiggle by using my trusty glue gun again. So let's give that a shot and see how that works. I've never tried this before. I'm trying it live on camera with you guys. So let the dog see the rabbit and get my little match ready for tamping it down. And let's go. As before, the glue needs to be good and hot. But it's easier than getting it into the Roxon because this is it's a much bigger aperture. So let's get it in there nice and hot, and then we get the SwissTool Spirit in and out really quickly. I've got my other plier here ready, and in we go. There we are. That should now hold really well, and let's get it out of there quick before this glue sets too much. I have to pull really quite hard here, and then there's going to be a fair bit of cleanup to do on aisle 3. And that looks really messy, but we'll see what it looks like once we've cleaned it up and to see if it increases the grip. I mean, it's always an option not to bother with the glue at all. As we saw with the Roxon adapters, once they're on a Roxon tool, they wiggle a lot, and Roxon just accepts that. They're perfectly usable, but I think this is a more elegant solution. And what we're going to do now here is clear off the excess glue. So I don't think we need all of this glue here on the top. It's more important that it's down the bottom. So we can snip this and we'll give it a try. Like I said, this is the first time I'm doing this with this adapter, so we need to make sure it's in the right way. Push it in, and that I'm preferring that a lot more. This is excellent, actually. Once we have this on here, we can add a ratchet. If we want to, we can add any kind of 1/4 inch bit we want. And again, we can go from 1/4 inch to 4 millimeter with one of these cheap adapters. Right, and finally, next up, as I promised, I'm going to show you where you can buy all of these weird and wonderful adapters. And we're going to go and spend some time looking on the web pages. All right, so everything I'm going to show you, the prices are of July 31st, 2026. So they may change with time. Right, starting off with the 4 millimeter to 1/4 inch adapters, I'd like to buy these, which come in a set of 3. These are the ones that I've bought and they work fine for me. And currently they are at $7.59. Following on from that, we have the 1/4 inch to 4 millimeter adapters. Again, these come in a set of 3. And these are the ones that I've been using. I've not had any problems with them, and they are only $4.97 for a set of 3. All right, and then next up we have the Roxon bit set. That is on roxontool.com on their own website, and it's also here on Amazon. As of today, both of these are at $7.99. Again, I'll put a little link in the description and also in the pinned comment for you. Finally, from Amazon, we have the Leatherman Bit Kit, which includes the adapter that has worked very well for the SwissTool Spirit, and this one is currently it's at $25 for all of these colors. But here on Amazon, here's one here actually at $20, this orange and black one. I'll include links for all of these in the description and also in the pinned comment. You can, of course, buy others. If you buy using my link, then you support the channel and I get a very small commission from that. But of course, you can search for these things yourself. Now, moving on to AliExpress, the Ganzo adapter, which is 4mm by 5mm. That's the rectangular one. For this, you need to input directly this text in the search bracket up here. I will also put the exact link. Now, these sometimes disappear. So if you can't find it for whatever reason, please add a comment and I'll update the link in the posted comment. Here, if you can see on this image, this particular image here, we can see the 4mm by 5mm box. So that's the one that you want, and that's the one that you always want to be looking out for adapting with the SwissTool Spirit. Next up, we have the regular Ganzo adapters. I've purchased many of these. Again, this is the text that you want to be using in the search bar to find this particular image, and I will put this exact link as well in the description and in the pinned comment. For these particular ones, I don't get any commission at all or anything like that. But please just make sure that if you want to buy the rectangular one, which is much more rare, that you actually put in the exact link, and that when you find an image of it, make sure you see this 4mm by 5mm image. So if you have the SwissTool Spirit, but you don't have the plus sets, which involve the ratchet or the other wrench, then there are plenty of options out there. And in fact, I recommend keeping a couple of these adapters handy so that you can go through your own multi-tools and seeing if any of them will actually work there with a bit of modification or maybe the hot glue or something like that, just to see if you can add some extra additional functionality to kits or multi-tools that you already have in your possession. Personally, this is something that I really like doing. It's a bit of tinkering that's good and fun. And I have a playlist up here of all of these kind of hacks that you can go and have a look at. In there, you'll find things like the modification I talked about before, where with a 58mm Victorinox, you can add a hex adapter. Also, you'll find some tutorials for the SOG PowerPoint, where I found a way to take standard T-shank blades, scalpels and files and modify them for use directly with a PowerPoint. And then there's another little passion project, which is taking a refillable clipper lighter, where you can also change the flints, and turning that into a mini repair platform, which includes some duct tape, some of this glue that we've been using, and all of the scale tools that you can find on a 58mm Victorinox, including toothpick, tweezers, pen, and pin. And it's a useful way to justify carrying an ALOX because you've already got your scale tools in another platform. Right now, though, I've got 2 videos out of this, and it's not even mine. I borrowed it from a buddy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and take it back to him with the pouch, but I'm also going to take him this little kit that I've put together for him as a way of saying thank you. And inside here, I've put a modded with the glue Roxon adapter and the full kit, and also the 1/4 inch to 4mm adapter and the 4mm to 1/4 inch adapter, so that he can keep this with his SwissTool Spirit. And it's just a nice way of saying thank you. And also see if I can borrow any more of his multi-tools, of which I think I borrowed 3 so far to do videos on. Anyway, next time on the Clown's Pocket, I'm going to be doing the next video in my carry point series, where I'll be showing off the content of my EDC pouch, which 9 times out of 10 stops me getting my big tool bag out when I have to do little jobs around the house. All of those carry point videos are also inside a playlist if you want to catch up on them beforehand. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. Thanks for your support, and I look forward to seeing you again on the Clown's Pocket. All the best. Bye-bye.